close. Okay, well, welcome everybody to the session of Microsoft Word. I don't know what session this is. It's actually the fourth session, but we've sort of missed 2 weeks with the election and the power failure and so on. So we sort of somewhere in the middle, and it may well be that I won't finish this at all. You will have the notes. Everybody will get the notes, but we may have to just rerun the session again because this has been a disrupted 4 weeks, which is a great pity. Okay, so this course is Introduction to Microsoft Word. We did have a session last week, but I'm going to revise everything and then see if you've had a chance to try it out. So here we go. That's me. The only reason I even put this up for anybody who wasn't here last week or hasn't seen this before, here's my email address, Jeff_Kalwarowski@earthlink.net. If you send me an email at that address, I will, by return of email, send you the slides, these very slides that we're working with right now. So you'll have them as your own kind of little personal cheat sheet. So we're going to talk about Microsoft Word. Okay, so the first question is, what is Microsoft Word? So I addressed the question to you because we did discuss it last week. What is Microsoft Word?
Okay, I didn't attend last week.
That's right. You weren't here last week. Shame on you.
I know.
Neither was I, but I think it is supposed to be an operating system within the computer that helps us to write
No, that's Windows 10. Windows 10 is the operating system.
Okay, I don't
discussed
know.
On Tuesday. Microsoft Word is part of a suite of programs. So Microsoft Word is a program, a very big and very complicated program, but it's one real, it's what we call an app, an application program, right? It does something. And what it does is it is a word processing software. All right, so here it is. It's the word processing software. Now, word processing was a term that came up many years ago when Microsoft came out with this. And word processing really means what it says. You process words. So it's designed for writing or typing, right? And so it essentially, when it first came out, it replaced the typewriter. So you remember in the old days, if you had a typewriter, now you guys are much too young to remember the typewriter, but I do remember the typewriter, I'm afraid to say. And it was kind of hard to get things done because I remember in my early days, I used to dictate consulting reports. So I had one of those little, those little tiny tape recorders you could carry around, little thing like this, and it recorded, and I would, record an entire report or a letter or something, give it to a typist. There were such people in once upon a time called typists, and they would type it and get back to me, and I would take a look at it, and I'd say, oh man, I didn't do a good job here. This paragraph number 2 really belongs at the end. It doesn't belong at the beginning in paragraph 2. So I would cross it out with a red pen and draw an arrow down below and give it back to the typist, and they would give me black looks because why? I had to retype the whole thing, right? There was no way just to kind of snip out that paragraph and move it down to the bottom. Well, you could, but it was going to look a bit messy. So what happened then was when Microsoft Word came out, all of that went away, right? Now you could do anything with the words. The words on the screen now, unlike the words on a piece of paper that came from the typewriter, even the old fancy golf ball typewriter, once the words were on the paper, you couldn't get them out. Who remembers Tipex, right? So you could put Tipex on, which kind of whited it out, it looked like the paper, waited for it to dry, and then you could type the correct word. But you couldn't, put 10 words in between these 2 words. You couldn't put another 10 words in. It wasn't possible. You could overtype the wrong word. If you misspelled, typo and, you typed and ADN, you could Tipex it out and overtype A and D, but you couldn't put a whole lot of extra words in because there wasn't space to fit it, right? So you would have to retype The word processor really replaces the typewriter. So it now puts the words on an electronic screen, and the words on the electronic screen are much more flexible, right? They can be moved around without any effort whatsoever. Um, there was always a joke in the early days. How do you know when you have, a secretary or a typist who doesn't really know the computer very well? Because of the Tipex on the screen, right? So people didn't really understand there were Tipex and put Tipex on the screen. Just a joke, of course. Nobody ever did that. But the fact is now you can move stuff around, and it's all flexible, very easy to change. But the word processor also does a lot of other good things. So it wasn't just that it replaced the typewriter. It now allowed you to do things like spell check and grammar check. So you could check your typos. You would pick up typos. As soon as you typed ADN instead of AND, it would highlight it for you saying, I don't know what this word is, right? Maybe you meant it, but maybe it's just a typo, and you could then correct it. So literally the misspellings, typos, and so on, and even grammar, bad grammar would go away. So you say, if you typed accidentally, the horse are a nice animal, it would tell you that sentence is wrong. It should be the horse is a nice animal. It's that smart that it would look at it and it would know singular verbs and singular subject, plural verb, plural subject, and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of other, where you should put in commas and that kind of thing. Most important, it allowed you to do consistent and very professional formatting. So as we're going to see, not only can you just type, now there are many other things you can just type into. There's email. So if you're doing your email, you can type the email, right? And you can move things around a little bit, but you can make the email look really professional. It only has very basic facilities in. It also does a spell check. So when you type your email and you type the word ADN, it underlines it in red and it says, did you really mean this word? Maybe it's what you meant. It's some kind of abbreviation, perhaps. But no, I can see immediately, not only did I mistype it, but Word will show me that it's likely to be the correct word, AND, and all. I don't even have to retype it. I just can now click on the correct spelling, and it's done. But we can also make it very professional. So it is now possible on your word processor, on your computer, on your laptop that you've got, to create output that's as good as anything that a professional typesetter would do in the old days. So I don't know if you remember the days, like when newspapers were printed, they had typesetters. It was a very skilled job to set the type. So the newspaper, the columns all lined up and all that kind of stuff. Highly paid, very skilled job. It's all gone away now. Now, they don't need typesetters anymore, because in a newspaper or a magazine, the reporter can type it up in Microsoft Word, send it to the printing machine, and bang, the newspaper goes out, right? No intermediary anymore to set the type, or what we used to know is type it so that it would appear on paper. So once you've got it perfect on the screen, you can send it out to a printer, and it's perfect, right? There'll be no errors. There will be no grammatical errors, no typing errors. Everything will be lined up perfectly, and so on. And like I said earlier, what used to drive my typist crazy is now it's real easy for me to move whole paragraphs, whole pages, move them around, because it's just images on a screen, you might say. There's not actually any words there, just things on the screen that look like words, and I can move them any way I like. You can, things that were very hard to do with the typewriter, graphics, photographs, diagrams, and so on, you can put them in, right? So that used to drive my typist nuts if I had a diagram, because it's very hard to draw a diagram with a typewriter. And in most cases, they just left a gap there, and I drew the diagram, with pen and ink, and then we photocopied it because it was virtually impossible to do. Now you can have pictures, diagrams, anything you like, embedded in a document. You can save and restore the document. So you can keep a copy of it on your computer. You can bring it back anytime you like. You can re-edit it. You can update it. You can copy and paste standard text. So if there's, I'll show you how to do that. If there's, text that you use very often, let's say it might be, you're typing for a company, the company name, instead of always typing out, Coca-Cola Corporation Inc., you could save that text as standard and just copy it in every time you need it. The typist might do that many, many times, and lots more. So Microsoft Word, which came out probably in about 1990, right? Somewhere around there. So a long time ago now. That's a long time in computers. That's 30 years. Probably the most successful piece of software ever written. Just about everybody on the planet, somewhere along the way, uses Microsoft Word. There was a time when computers were really divided roughly into two. You had the Windows Microsoft computers, and then you had the Apple Mac computers. And they didn't talk to each other. They were completely different. Mac had its own word processing and so on. But Microsoft eventually got smart. Instead of regarding Apple as their enemy, they created a version of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, of which Word is part, that runs on Mac as well. So most people on Mac pretty much dropped Apple's word processing and Apple's equivalent programs, and everybody uses Word. And in fact, it's actually interchangeable now, which is very nice. So this is one of the most powerful pieces of software ever written. The guy who wrote it, actually, one guy designed it. A guy who worked for Microsoft. I think he was from Eastern Europe somewhere, Hungary. And he came to America, he designed this thing. And by the time he left Microsoft, he was a pretty rich guy, right? Because, of the number of people that bought the product and therefore brought Microsoft's computers and so forth, so everybody won. So here's some of the things you can do with it. You can create, format, edit, save, print any kind of text document, anything you want. Could be, you can use it to type letters, correspondence, shopping lists, recipes. You want to keep all your recipes. Instead of keeping little bits of paper that you might have cut out of a newspaper, just retype the thing in Microsoft Word, and you can build an entire list of all your recipes, which you can access anytime. You could then be able to search for things and so on. Formal business letters, which we don't much use anymore, but it's really easy to do. But you can even do things like brochures, flyers, invitations. I've seen people who've done beautiful flyers, sell their house or whatever, or invitations to a wedding. They look just as professional as what we used to pay a lot of money to get a professional to do. It's not that hard to do by yourself. And in fact, Microsoft gives you formats of all these kind of things that you can just copy and modify. So there's a format for a brochure, right? Let's say you have a 2-page brochure on something, whatever it might be, for your, you're having a fundraiser at your church, or trying to sell your house, or a play at your grandchildren's school, a brochure about the play. It's almost ridiculously simple to be able to do with Microsoft Word. Even legal documents. I'm going to show you some legal documents. So legal documents always used to be the most complex. Somebody who was a legal typist who worked for a lawyer, they had to be the best of the best, right? And today you can do it better than most of them. In fact, it's kind of interesting. I'll show you how I can usually tell right away whether somebody who has typed a document, if I get a document, let's say a legal contract, for example, I can tell very rapidly whether they really understand Word or not. And in most cases, the answer is no, they don't, right? They do things the hard way. There's nothing wrong with that. It looks great. But Word will, once you understand Word, will allow you to do it the easy way and save time. Possibilities, as I say here, are endless. So you do need a copy of Microsoft Word. There is a way to get a free copy of Word, which is an amazing thing, because the word free and Microsoft in the same sentence never made a lot of sense, right? And Microsoft don't give you nothing for free, right? Just like Walmart don't give me anything for free. If I like those pants in Walmart, ka-ching, ka-ching, give us your credit card, right? Microsoft too. So you can buy Office. It's really not that expensive now. You used to have to buy it for a few $100s. But now they have this sort of rental model where you pay $5 or $6 a month and you get the whole of Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on, and you can use it on several computers, not only one, and it just costs you a few dollars a month. But you can get, like I say, a reduced free copy of Microsoft Word. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to spend on this. When we were doing it in person at Benson, we would spend some time and I would help everybody get that Microsoft Word. But it's not mentioned here, but I'm going to tell you about it. And you can write this down. To get the copy of Word, go to office.com. So you go in your browser. So this version, this free version of Word, runs in the browser, which is kind of an amazing thing. It doesn't need a piece of software at all. It runs in the browser. So you take your browser, whether it's Google, Chrome, or whatever browser you're using, and you type office.com. So you go to a place on the internet, not amazon.com, but office.com. And you will see there's an option in there to get Microsoft Word, in fact, to get Office. You got to set up an account. It's a bit of a stupid, messy process, but you set up an account for yourself. So you put in your email address and you set up a password, and now it will allow you to, you will see all the pieces of what is called Microsoft Office, of which Word is one. Excel is the other, which is a spreadsheet. PowerPoint is another, which is for doing slides like we're doing right here. And you essentially get a stripped down version. It's not the full version, but for most people, it's perfectly good, right? It doesn't have some of the very powerful features, but most of us will probably never need those powerful features. So the free version is a pretty useful thing. And the beauty is, because it's in your browser, all the information that you save then is not stored on your computer, it's stored in the cloud at Microsoft. Microsoft gives you some free storage. And that means you can get to your documents from anywhere on the planet. You can edit them in your phone. An iPhone or an Android phone will allow you to edit your documents because it's in the cloud. And if ever you lost your computer, it was stolen or broken, just stopped working, nothing is lost because your information is permanently in the cloud and you can get to it from anywhere in the country, in fact, anywhere on the planet. Okay, so roughly speaking, this is how Microsoft Word operates. So
But
first,
Jeff,
yeah.
before you go on, that free version, you say you can get it no matter where you are. So how do you go about getting it? Do you have to log into office.com to get
Yeah,
your
so you go to
document?
office.com and I say I don't have time now because this course is so short.
Right.
But if you can make it work, send me an email and I'll show you how to do it. It's a little messy. I don't know why Microsoft has done it. It takes a little bit of time, but nothing very complicated. And basically, you set up an account. It's like you have an account at Amazon. So when you go to Amazon.com, they recognize you, and now you can buy stuff, and they know exactly they've got your address, and they may even have your credit card, and it's all automated. Office.com is very much the same. There will be a copy of a version of Microsoft Office, including Word, and you just click on the little icon for Word, which is in your browser, right? It's not a piece of software on your computer. It's kind of like somewhere up there in the sky is what you're using, and it works exactly the way I'm going to show you. Like I say, some of the features are not there, but I found that for most people, there's nothing wrong with the free version of Microsoft Office. If you've already got it on your computer, then you don't need that. But if you don't, that's not a bad way to do it, or at least to try it out. If you then do want the full version, you buy it from Microsoft by downloading it, right? You don't have to go to a store or anything like that. And like I say, the new version of Microsoft, all its Microsoft software, operates on this installment plan. You pay them $5 or $7 a month, and that's it, right? They automatically give you all the updates. You never have to update the software. It's always updated automatically for you. And that's your own software, which allows you to store your documents on your computer. The cloud version stores it in the cloud, right? So I say I don't have time to do it right now, but go to office.com. You'll see there's an option on the right, something that allows you to get the free version. If you can't figure it out, send me an email. I'll help you and we'll figure it out and you can get it.
Okay.
So unfortunately, really you need Word, Office, but Word, to do what we're doing. Really, when we did it at Benson, everybody would get a chance to try it out as I spoke. These sessions, these online sessions are unfortunately too short to do that. So you've got to try it out by yourself. But the good news is Microsoft Word is so easy to use that it's just a question of a little practice. It's easier to use Microsoft Word than it is to learn to drive a car or learn to swim or ride a bicycle. It's so simple. So here's how we start. When you first click on so over here on the left, you see the big W with the little lines next to it. That's Microsoft's icon picture for the app. So you'll have that dot either in the cloud, if you've got the free version, or I've got that on my computer because I have my own version of Word that I bought. And then I pay, $5 a month for whatever it might be. If you double click on that, this opens up and it says, what do you want to do essentially? So if you look down the left, you'll see that there's a kind of a menu there. See the left, the dark blue menu? So at the top, there's an entry that says info. If you click on that, it tells you what version you've got and other useless junk. Then there's new, open, save as, print, and so on, okay? So new says, I want to do a new document, right? I want to start, there's a new document, I'm typing a new report, I'm typing a new chapter of my book that I'm writing. This is a new flyer I'm about to do for my knitting club or my church club or whatever, right? Second one says open. Open means I've already created a document. I did this yesterday or last week. And now I want to open the document that I saved yesterday, right? So we can open, save, and save as I'll talk about in a few minutes when we get in there. And print is kind of obvious as well. Print allows you to print any document to any printer that is connected to your computer. Share allows you to share the documents. You can send a copy to me in your email or even in a text. And then close means I'm done. I'm closed. I'm finished. Right. So what we're going to do, of course, we're going to start off. You can see that it's highlighting on the left. In the lighter blue, it says new, and then in the middle main screen, I've cut this down a little bit, but the screen, your real one will be a little wider than that. It says new. New means a new document, and it gives you a number of options. The most likely one is the one over here on the left, which is a blank document. Start with a blank document, it's like a blank sheet of paper. But instead of that, if you don't want to use a blank document, it gives you various options, right? So down below, you can see the one that says AA and the one that says title. And we can actually read it over here, but there will be different formats. So let's say there might be a resume, right? If you're looking for a job, most of us aren't doing that anymore. But if you're looking for a job, there would be a resume format. And you click on that, and it gives you a beautifully laid out resume. All you have to do is type in your name, your address, your experience, and so on. But the layout has all been done for you. So by and large, mostly what we do is we start with the blank screen, blank document. So we just double click here where it says blank document, and you can see the blank document. Just double click on it, and it opens up instantly, and it looks like this. Right. So can everybody see that? That's the main screen of Microsoft Word. Now it looks, there's a big white space, and that's where we're going to type. And you can see the cursor line. So the cursor in Microsoft Word is that little vertical line. It actually flashes on and off, but this is just a slide, so it's not flashing. But normally you'll see the little, it flashes, and as you type, it moves to the right. That's kind of like where you're typing, and you can go back and forward, whatever. We'll see how that works. Then at the bottom of the page, it just kind of looks a little complicated besides the white. And I'm going to tell you now what all the bits and pieces are, and you'll see that it's really very, very straightforward and simple. So first of all, let me just go back to there. you'll see all this complicated stuff at the top above the white, and there's all kinds of weird pictures and stuff. It sort of looks like the cockpit of a Boeing, right? If you ever look in the cockpit when you get on a plane, there's dials and knobs and buttons and how the heck does a pilot ever know what he's doing? But actually it's very simple. And they call this the ribbon. So this section above the white is called the ribbon. And it's called a ribbon because it sort of looks like a ribbon, right? And there are various flavors of the ribbon for doing different things. And it tries to present you always with the most common things you're going to use. If you do something that is less common, you got to go down a level and look for it. And I'll show you how to do that. But mostly it puts in one screen everything that you might need, which is pretty impressive given that Word has thousands of features in it. I mean, literally thousands, most of which I don't even know. I know where to look for it if I wish, but 95% of what I do is done in the standard ribbon, just like this, without going to anything else. So here's the ribbon. You can see I've expanded a little bit here, and it still looks pretty complicated, but actually it's not. So first of all, if you look at the top, the sort of second line, you'll see it says File, Home, Insert, blah, 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 all those words there. And Home is sort of sticking up and it's a different color. This is kind of like file tabs, you know, tabs on when you file your manila folders, they got the little tab. So it's got a whole lot of tabs here. And the most common tab is the Home tab. This is where mostly you stay. Most of what you use, 95% of what I ever do is on this Home tab. But then if there are other things that I need to do, there's a next tab you'll see to the right called Insert. And if I just click on that word Insert, the ribbon will change and there'll be a new ribbon. If I click on Design, Layout, References, Mailings, and so on, the tab will change, right? So the only time you'd ever use mailings, for example, is if you're merging a list of names and addresses with a letter. You know, let's say you're doing a mail shot. Not many people do mail shots anymore, but you could type a letter and then you could have a list of names and addresses, and within mailings, you'd merge the two together. So the letter now would say, Dear Mrs. Jones, or Dear Jeff, right? It would take the information from the name and address list and merge it into the letter, right? Which is what, you know, people used to do for advertising until, you know, Facebook and all that came out, which is where most advertising is done today. So mostly we don't need that stuff. Everything primarily is in the Home. So that is the tab. Let's go to the next one. So you see that each of those tabs is highlight. I've put it in a red rectangle there. Those are the tabs. File, if you click on File, the one on the left, then you get that first screen which I've just showed you, which allows you to open a file or choose a new file, create, you know, a new existing or an existing file, save the file, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So each tab contains several groups of related commands. Okay. Now the groups of commands are, if you look at carefully, you'll see thin vertical gray lines. You see the gray lines, right? So there's one gray line on the left, and at the bottom of it, it says clipboard. The next two gray lines, it says font. Then as you go to the right, two gray lines, it says paragraph, and so on, okay? And that just simply means that within those gray lines, those are buttons that you can press that all kind of work together. The most common one you're going to use is font and occasionally paragraph. And I'm going to tell you what they do. So there, for example, is font. Can you see that? There's font. You see the gray line. Well, you can't see it now because the green lines are on top of it, but there's a gray line on the left and a gray line on the right, and that says this is the font section of command. So it's kind of like, you know, in your car, you look at the instrument panel in front of you, there are various sections to it. There's the speedo, and then there's a thing that shows you your gas, and it's exactly the same as that. Each one of those tabs or one of those groups of commands clipboard, font, paragraph, and so on, does a different thing. Again, still sounds complicated and probably a little hard to understand. You'll see in a moment that it's really, really simple. Okay. Now, in addition, you'll see on the right side, next to the word clipboard, next to the word font, next to the word paragraph, just to the right of it is like a little arrow pointing down to the right. Can you see that? That's where there's blue arrows pointing at. And in each case, what that means, if you click on that, that opens up a more detailed menu, right? So they've given you most of the facilities you need, let's say, to change the font, right? But if you needed to do some fancy schmancy stuff, you could click on that little down arrow. It would open up a little menu, and you can do a lot more complicated things with a menu. Most times you don't need it, right? But I'm just telling you for what it's worth. So when you open up the little menu, you can do some other things, and you can see the little menu that opens up. There's that sort of rectangle with the blue line on the blue top, the blue section at the top. That's a sub menu that allows you to do more things. You will seldom need to do that, but I'm just telling you about it because sometimes we do. So there, if I pull that menu down on paragraph, this is what would pop up. Can you see this menu that's opened up here? And it allows me to do a whole lot of other things. When I'm finished with them, all I do is hit escape. That little menu closes out and I'm done. But most times I don't need the extra menu. Okay. So now let's look at how we use the ribbon more carefully. So first of all, I want to tell you one thing. Let's go back just one slide. Now, let's go back 2 slides. Over here, at the top of your screen, it says document 1 Word, right? That means this is a Word document and it's called document 1. In real life, you will change, it gives it that name, document 1, document 2, document 3, doesn't mean anything. When you save it, when you write it out to disk, you will rename it. That's when you give it a real name. You call it brochure for my knitting club, or letter to Senator so-and-so. If you want to write a political letter to Senator so-and-so, right? You could, or just a letter to your children, your family, with some pictures in or something. So the name of the document would appear there. So all the time you know what the name of the document is. At any instant in time, you know the name of the current document. You can change the name if you wish, but that's it. Now, in addition, there over here you will see, can you see, looking on the right-hand side of the ribbon, you'll see what looks like a light bulb, the electric light bulb, and it says, tell me what you want me to do, right? And that's a very useful feature that Microsoft put in. So if you click there where that little light bulb is, you can ask it a question, right? In English. Say, I can't remember how to do this. Can you tell me how to do it? And Word will tell you how to do it. So you see the tell me feature? Let me give you an example. Let's say I would like to put page numbers on every page. I want to number my pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because I'm writing a book. You know, it's more than just a letter of 1 page. I'm writing my autobiography, right? And I want to put numbers on the page. I cannot remember how to do that. It's in there, but I've forgotten. Just write in there. Notice I've written, you see it, can you see the light bulb at the top? It says, and I've written add page numbers, or just page numbers I'd write in. You do it in English. You don't need to learn a new language. Up pops this little menu and it says page numbers. Do you want to remove page numbers? Do you want to add a header? The little menu at the side will say, do you want your numbers at the top of the page, the bottom of the page, in the current position, wherever you want? Right? So you can have the page number in the top right-hand corner of each page, or you can have it at the bottom of the page in the middle. You know, some books have the page number, some magazines have the page number at the bottom. You can actually put the page number anywhere you like. So current position says wherever I've got my cursor right now, that's where I want the page number, right? Doesn't have to be on the left or the right or in the middle, it can be anywhere. Mostly we put them on the left or the right or the middle, right?
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are you under the home tab when you see that light bulb?
No, the light bulb's there all the time, right? So
okay,
let me go back. It's on, it's my light, the light bulb. You see that? You see the menu here? You see the light bulb on the right?
I don't see it on mine.
Now look on the screen. Can you see it on the screen?
Well, I'm looking at my computer. I see
Oh,
it on yours.
well,
I guess it depends on what version you have, huh?
that's the problem. Microsoft is like most of these companies, Apple is the same. They have a habit of, you know the old advice: if it ain't fixed, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, they tend to fix it all the time when it ain't broke, and they will make some changes. So you may find that it doesn't have the light bulb. You may just have a little address bar there, a blank bar, like the address bar in your browser, and you can type into it, right? One of the two will work. So again, let me know what you've got and I'll show you how to do it. But on every single version of Word, there's the little bar or the little place you can type where you can ask it questions, right? And they make sometimes they just move things around, right? Which really confuses me even, because I'm used to it being on the left and now suddenly they've moved it to the right. Why they do that, I don't know. That could be one of them. I think there are two versions of this. There's one like this with a little light bulb and it says, tell me what you want to do. And you overtype those words, tell me what you want to do. You type your query, or it's just got a little white bar and you can type your query in there. Don't worry too much about it because I don't use it very much, because you'll find that it's so easy to use the ribbon, you mostly don't have to ask it the question. So there we said add page numbers, as you can see, and it showed me all of those options. So let's type some text. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with a rather complicated document. Now, normally you think if you're learning a piece of software like this, we'd start with a real simple document like a letter or something. But I'm going to start with a really difficult professional document and show you how easy it is, right? And so I took a real contract, right, that I'd seen, professional services agreement, blah, 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 and see how easy it is to actually do this. We'll come back to that in a second, right? So first of all, I'm going to show you some of the features. So I've read this contract in. It's an existing document, and I called it in. And I'm showing you the bottom of the page here. At the bottom of the page, on the left, Microsoft Word will show you page 1 of 7. So it counts how many pages are in your document, and it says you're currently on page 1, or page 4, or page 6, or page 7, right? In many cases, you don't care, but if you are, writing a book, and the book's got to be no more than 200 pages or something, you need to know how many pages there are, right? Microsoft Word will keep track of it for you. Right next to it, it says 2,838 words. Mostly we don't care about words, but there used to be a time when, for example, I wrote a weekly column and it had to go into another document, a weekly document, and they only gave me like 250 words. So I had to fit in 250 words. So I used to watch this very carefully. I would type the whole thing and it would say 350 words. And now I know I've got too much and I've got to go cut out a paragraph or shorten things down until I could get back into my 250 words. Mostly, whatever you and I are typing, most times you don't care about how many pages there are and how many words, but there it is. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's always on the bottom left. This is the very bottom of the screen, right below where you've typed. So you see all the white and black, the black on white typing, and then below you see these sort of grayish. This is what Word is put in for you. On the right of the bottom of the screen, there are, first of all, you'll see sort of some pictures. The one looks like a book, and then there's the grayed out one that's just got a bunch of lines in. The one that looks like a book, if you click that button, then magically it will show you 2 pages to view, right? Like a book. You'll be able to, so even though you type it, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, it will show you page 1 and page 2. And then when you go to the next page, you'll see page 3 and page 4. Mostly, I don't bother with that. You'd only do that if you really were doing a book you do that with a brochure. You want to see the 2 pages. Let's say the brochure is a fold out like this. You'd want to see left page and right page, to see how the things line up and so on. All you had to do was click on that button and you will see 2 pages to view. Now, it's not changing the document at all. You can still print it out 1 page up, 1 page, 1 page, 1 page, but you can view it as 2 pages, right? And then on the right, you'll see a slider. You'll see it says 100% on the right, far right, and then you've got a minus and a plus and a little dark line in the middle, right? So that 100% says you are seeing this document in 100%. This is exactly what it's going to look like on the printer. Sometimes you might want to make that bigger or smaller. You're not changing the document, you're just changing what you're seeing on the screen. So if I wanted to see the whole page, obviously your screen will usually not show you an entire page, but let's say I want to see the whole page because I want to make sure everything lines up correctly. All you would do is click on that 100% and you can change it to 75% and it will make everything smaller. Now it's not changing the document, it will still print exactly the same, but you can see it on your screen in 75%. Alternatively, you can grab that slider. So you pointed it with your cursor, and as I explained in the window course, to grab something on a Windows computer, you just hold down the left mouse button, the one that your first finger is on. You just point at that, hold it down, and now it kind of grabs that button, and now you can move it left or right. So you can make it smaller by moving it minus, or bigger, making it plus, or you can just point at 100% and overtype it 75% or 110% or whatever you want, right? So that's pretty much all we're really interested in on the page itself. So now let's start looking at how we use the ribbon. So firstly, I'm just going to talk about the group of commands called font and the one next to it called paragraph. That's about 90% of what you'll ever use. So first of all, font means what? Who knows what the word font means? What is font?
The size of the letter?
Mm-hmm. The size and the shape of the letters. So there are many different fonts. You may never have noticed it, but a newspaper font is not the same as what they use, say, in People magazine, right? The fonts are different. The shapes of the letters are subtly different, right? So first of all, you'll see, if you look under in that section called font, there's a white little box at the top that says Calibri Body 14. Now, Calibri is just the name of this font that we've got here. That's all it is. It's a meaningless name. It's just a name. Whoever designed the type font, we call it a type font, called it Calibri. Why Calibri? I don't know. It's just like a name. And the 14 is the size. Unfortunately, it's not in inches or anything logical. The size is in print sizes, which dates back to the old days. I don't know why they kept that, but it doesn't really matter. All you need to know is that 14 is bigger than 12 and 12 is bigger than 10. So by changing that number there, you can make this actual print, the way it's going to print out, bigger or smaller, right? And Calibri is one of the fonts, and you'll see next to the word Calibri, you'll see the little arrow. Can you see my cursor pointing at the arrow, right? That little arrow, if you click on it, so everything in Word works the same. If there's a little one of those down arrows or arrow going off to the right, if you click on it, a little menu will open up, right? So if you click on Calibri, a whole menu will open up and you will see about 60 different type fonts, right? And you can choose the one you want. Mostly I just leave it in the same way. It's always the same. It doesn't, you get used to a particular type font. It's hardly worth the trouble unless you have some specific reason for it in order to change the type font. The 14, you can either put your cursor on top of the 14 and type a different number like 12. It'll make everything a bit smaller. Let's say you want to fit it on the page. It doesn't quite fit on the page. Make the font a little teeny bit smaller and suddenly it'll get 2 extra lines on the page and it'll fit in, or whatever. You make it any size you like. So you can either overtype the 14 or you can press the little arrow. When the little arrow comes down, it'll say, well, your options are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, up to about 70, right? So you can have a font size of 60 or 70, which you might, is massive. When would you ever use a font of that size? let's say you want to do a sign, you want to put a sign up saying for sale, you're selling your house or selling something. You could have a nice big font, which you could print out, that you could put on you could stick it on a big piece of cardboard and you'd have a sign with a big font. Mostly the fonts we're using are going to be somewhere between 12 and 16. That's the usual sizes, right? And this font here is 14, and it's a perfectly normal size, easy to read font. Now, you'll notice when you look at this, some of the words are slightly different. So what's different about the first word, dinosaurs, and the rest?
It's bolded.
It's bolded, it's darker, right? It stands out. So if you wanted to highlight a word and make it bold, okay, now, in the old IBM golf ball typewriter, you may remember you take the ball off and put a different ball on, the bold font. Here, it's as simple as nothing. So let's go back to font, and you'll see under the name Calibri, there are 3 letters, B, I, and U. B stands for bold.
Bold.
I stands for
Italicized.
Look at the third last word on the first line, dinosauria, right, which is a scientific name for dinosaur. Can you see how it's leaning over, right? The font is leaning over. That's called italic. So it's the same font, it's just the italic version, which kind of leans over, and we only use that to highlight things. So if you want to highlight something, you want to emphasize something, you could either bold it or you can italicize it, make it italic. And then on the second line, what do you see about those words Triassic period?
Underline.
They're underlined. How do you think you underline something? You see the little U? See the little U with the underline? So we've got B, I, and U. So let's say I hadn't typed this yet. I'm about to start typing. I'm writing a book or something, yeah, or maybe a school paper, right? I'm studying dinosaurs and I have to write a paper about dinosaurs. So I'd like to start off with a highlighted word. All I do is press B with my cursor, press the B. So you'll see you can move your cursor to it like my cursor is now, and you can click and it says, aha, turn on B. And you'll see that the B will change color up there. It'll be sort of get a little gray box around it, which means it's activated. And now when I start typing dinosaurs, it will be bold. How do you think I stop bolding?
Click it again.
Just press it again. It's like a light switch. If it's on, it goes off, and if it's off, it goes on. When I get to the word dinosauria, how do I make it italic? Press the I. Just press the I. You see the I next to the B? Right? And then whatever I type from that moment on will be in italic. And when I finish the word dinosauria, how do I stop it from being italic? Hit the I again. Turn it off, right? When I want to underline, let's say now I'm on the second line, I say Triassic period. Before I start Triassic, I hit the U. You see the U with a little line under it? It's an underline. And instantly, whatever I type now will be underlined. And when I get to the end of period, Triassic period, I hit the U again, stops underlining. Okay, here's a question for you. What happens if I hit the B and the I? If I press the B and the I and then I start typing, what's going to happen?
Everything's going to be highlighted and italicized.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
Or if I hit italics and underline, it'll be italicized, it'll be leaning over to the right and underlined. Or I can do all 3. I can have it bold, italic, and underline. Why you would ever want to do that, I have no idea, but you can, right? It's as simple as pressing a simple button. Okay, so now we know how to change the font. And like I say, if you press the little down arrow next to that word Calibri, literally a menu will open up with about 60 different fonts, right? I'm not even going to the details of the fonts. Mostly it's not even worth the trouble. Just use whatever font is presented to you. So Word already has built into it a whole lot of standard defaults, we call them. Defaults is they set it up for you. So they will have set up a specific font. Usually it's Calibri or Times Roman. So there's one called Times Roman and there's one called Calibri. Times Roman is the font normally used in newspapers. So if you go and look at a newspaper, you see it doesn't look quite like this. It's got slightly fancier. The letters have got little things on top. The G has got like a little thing on top, and the I, the letters are slightly different, right? Not mostly, you probably never even noticed it, but if you go and look at a newspaper, you'll see the font is slightly different to this, and you can choose whichever one you want. It doesn't matter. In fact, Word is so powerful, you can change fonts in the middle, right? If for some reason in the next paragraph that I write here, I wanted it to be in a different font, Word says sure, right? Now, most of us don't do that. Why would you use 3 different fonts? The newspapers, if you look carefully, or the magazines sometimes do that. You may see that there are different fonts. You can actually see that the typeface, the way the letters are is different, but most of us are never going to do that, okay? So let's look at all those other little pictures there while we're here at font. So right next to the 14, what can you see? You see here where my cursor is? You see an A with a little arrow on top going upwards, and right next to it is a smaller A with a little arrow coming down, right? What that's telling you is make the letters bigger or make them smaller, right? So either you can change the size of the letters by changing the 14 to 16 or changing it to 11, but this is another way to do it. If I start typing and it's in 14, if I click on the A with the arrow going up, it gets bigger, and if I click on the arrow A coming down, it gets smaller. So that's 2 different ways to change the size of the letters, right? And you can get to any size you want. Again, the default in Word, the standard size and font are probably fine for what you want to do. So you don't have to make any changes. But there's the option to be able to change them. Now, next to that, next to those 2 A's, you'll see another big A and a small A, right? Can you see that? Everybody see the big A and the small A right here?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
And it's got a little down arrow next to it. Now that down arrow, if you click on it, why it's got a big A and a small A is capital letters, uppercase, or small letters, right? So you can, let's say I wanted to change the word reptiles on the first line to all capitals for whatever reason, right? I've decided reptiles should be capital R, capital E, and so on. The whole word should be in uppercase, right? You can do that. If you just pointed at the word and you clicked on that down arrow, there'll be some options against it. The options will be all capitals, all uppercase, all lowercase, what they call sentence case, where the first letter in each sentence, like here, the D of dinosaur is a capital letter, an uppercase, but all the rest of it is lowercase, right? So you can choose any one of those options you like, and you can make anything uppercase, lowercase, sentence case. It doesn't matter. I think there might be 4 or 5 options there. I can't remember what the others are, right? So very, very useful. So most of that, you need to press those buttons before you start typing. So let's say I'm about to type the word dinosaurs, then I would press the B and it'll be capital. Oh, by the way, it automatically uses what we call sentence case. So automatically the first letter of every sentence will be an uppercase letter. You see, it's got the uppercase D for dinosaurs. And if there was notice on the 4th line, at the end of the 4th line, you see the word they, right? Can everybody see the word they? Also got a capital for T because it's after a period. It's a new sentence. So Word knows when you put a period in, that's the end of a sentence, or automatically starts a new sentence, and it puts a capital T, and that works mostly, right? We don't need to change the case, right? And of course, at any time you can just press the Shift key and type an uppercase at any place that you like I did with the word Triassic on the 2nd line. Now, what else do you notice about all that text that's on that screen? There's something very interesting about the text. If you just look at it.
Well, there's a bubble. The letters look blue and it's fancier.
No. Now, there's something about the overall text, right?
It's seems like it's centered.
It's not centered. No. Well, it is centered in the page, but it's not centered. It's fitting completely into the page. The interesting thing is it's lined up on the left. Can you see that? All the letters line up on the left.
Okay, yes.
But look at the right.
They're
It's
also
lined up on the right too. Now,
yeah.
how the heck did I do that? Well, the answer is I didn't have to do anything. It did it for me, right? So as I typed dinosaurs are a blah, 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 when you get to that first appeared, word, there's no necessity. Remember the old typewriter, you had to go, when you got to the end of the line, remember it used to go, ding, you know, the bell used to ring and you had to hit carriage return and it went to the next line and you pulled the paper down. You remember all that stuff? You don't have to do that at all. When you get to the end of the first line, don't even care. As soon as you get to the word appeared, Word will figure out, wait a minute, I can't fit appeared on that first line. So I'm going to move it to the second line. It does it automatically. But now there would be, let's say, a little gap at the end. You know, there might be some empty spaces. Word has automatically adjusted all the words on that first line so that they exactly line up left and right. And it's done the same thing on the second line and the third line and the fourth line. Can you see how both? And that is called justified text. Text has been justified both sides. You don't have to do that. And so now we move on for the first time to the second group of instructions. You see where the word paragraph is at the top here in the ribbon?
Yes.
The first thing you'll see is these four funny little icons. Yes, some lines that are lined up on the left, some lines that are in the middle, right? Some lines that seem to be right up on the right, and then some lines that seem to be the same on both sides. That is the alignment, we call it. Which one is highlighted? The fourth one, this one here, right? And that simply means line it up on both sides. I want it perfectly aligned. I love doing that because it looks more professional. But you don't have to do it. If you're happy to left align so that it's kind of ragged on the right, then you press that first button. See the first button? It just aligns it on. So everything will still automatically flow onto the next line as you type. It just won't bother to adjust it. Now, it doesn't take any time to adjust it. It's not as if you have to wait while it adjusts it. It is so clever and so fast. As you type, it automatically texts align the left and the right column. So the first button, this one over here, aligns it to the left. The way you would write. If you were writing out, you write. When you see I'm getting to the end of the line, you start writing on the next line. But now some lines are a little bit longer and some lines are a little bit shorter. That's the first button. What do you think the second button does? This one here.
Well, on my computer, it's showing the center button.
It's the center. Can you see how the lines in that little icon are centered? Can you see that? So if you start typing some text, normally you would do that with a heading, right? So let's say I had a heading, I don't have a heading here, but let's say a heading that says dinosaur, all about dinosaurs is my heading. So I type all about dinosaurs and I press the center button. What will happen to that text? Bing, it'll put it right in the middle of the page, right? How does it do that? How does it calculate it? I don't know, but it instantaneously, it'll move everything into the middle. The third one, with everything lined up on the right and jagged on the left, is what it's going to line it to the right. The only time you'd ever use that is if you're typing columns of numbers. You know, if you're doing accounting or financials or taxes or something like that, you always want numbers lined up on the right, right? You want the cents of the dollars to be aligned up, right? That's how we do it. We align the decimal point. If you're not doing, you know, financial or taxes or something, I never use that, very, very seldom. And then the fourth one is, you can see the icon is it's lined up on both sides, right? And that's what we've got here. And that's why it's grayed out. You see the gray? It says, this page you are lining to the right, right? And you can choose whatever you like. One paragraph, you're going to line left. The next paragraph, you're going to line right. The next paragraph, you're going to line on both sides. You can do whatever you want. Mostly, we don't bother with that. I just click on this button here, the fourth one, aligning it on both sides because I like the way it looks. But if you prefer it to be left aligned and kind of jagged on the right, which often is what newspapers do, you'll see the right margin in the newspapers. Sometimes they use text alignment, and very often, like a news story, the lines will be as long as the line is. You know, so some lines will be slightly shorter and some lines will be slightly longer. So there we go, right? While we're on paragraph, we're nearly done now, so I'm going to just do one more thing with you on paragraph. Right above those icons that we've just spoken about, which does the alignment, can you see they are, just worry about the first two. There's one with 3 dots. Can you see it? This one here?
Yeah.
And then there's
Yes.
one that says 1, 2, 3. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are 2 very useful things. The one with the 3 dots and the little lines next to it says, I want bullets. I want to create a bulleted list. Let's say you're doing I don't know, for example, a grocery list. You could put a bullet, eggs with a bullet, milk with a bullet, and so on. So as you type each line, it automatically puts a round bullet on the left. The little arrow to its right, if you click that, you get different shapes of bullets. You can have round ones like that. That's the default. Round bullet, round filled in bullets, like a small little O that's been filled in. But you can have square ones or triangular ones, or there's 127 of them. You can choose whatever you like, right? Right next to it, it now says 1, 2, 3. What do you think that does?
Number.
You can use numbers instead.
Numbers the paragraphs. So, you know, if you're writing, you know, something and you want to number it, you're giving me instructions of how to bake a cherry pie. You would probably say 1, get the ingredients. 2, mix them in the bowl. 3, put them in the oven. 4, you know, you could do it with numbers. And the beauty of this is, let's say I've done paragraphs 1, 2, and 3. And now I go to between paragraph 2 and 3 and I start typing a new paragraph. What's going to happen? Paragraph 3 gets automatically moved down to become paragraph 4, and this new paragraph becomes the new paragraph 3, right? So you can move paragraphs around, or you can take paragraph 1, move it to the end. What used to be paragraph 2 becomes paragraph 1. What used to be paragraph 3 becomes paragraph 2. And what used to be paragraph 1, because I put it at the end, is now the paragraph 3. It's as simple as that, right? Now, one last thing, and then I think we're done, and I've probably overloaded your memories. So if I've already typed this stuff, let's say I typed this without any bolding or underline or anything. Now I come back and I look at it and I say, you know, I want to impress the professor. I'm handing in this assignment, this essay. I want to impress the professor. So I'm going to do some bolding and underlining and so on. But I didn't do it originally. How do I now bold or underline or whatever after the fact? And the answer is very, very, very simple, right?
Highlight.
You highlight. So let's say I typed the word dinosaurs, but it wasn't bolded. All I do is I put my cursor to the left of the D. I've got to grab the word. Remember I told you how you grab things? You hold the left button down and you drag your mouse over to the right till you get to the S. If you go too far, you just come back, right? What will happen when you highlight it is it changes color. On some versions, it will actually go blue. On other versions, it becomes sort of grayed out. But you know, you can see what you've highlighted. It's a slightly different to all the rest of the letter. So once I've highlighted the word dinosaurs, if I now go and hit the B, what's going to happen? That word or the whole line, I can highlight as much as I like. 1 word, 2 words, 10 words, the whole line, the whole paragraph I can highlight. If I started at the D and I pulled down all the way to the end of the 5th line, the word extinction, and then I hit the B, the whole paragraph will be bolded. See that? If I now wanted to turn dinosauria into italic, again, put my cursor to the left of the D, drag, hold it down, hold the mouse down, the left mouse, drag it to the right, and then hit the I, right? It could be italic. And ditto for underline, okay? italic, underline. So you can see the B, the I, the underline, the font. So the type of font, which you usually don't change, the size of the font, and the alignment, right? And mostly, that all sounds really complicated, but mostly you leave it the way it is. You leave it the way it is, right? So if you like, always like I do, to align it both sides, I always just automatically hit that button there, the fourth button, and just above the word paragraph, and it automatically aligns both sides of the text. Or you hit the first one, the one couple over to the left, that's just above the word underline, right, over here, and that will left align it or center it. So if I, as I say, if I had now typed a heading here that says dinosaurs are cool, all I do is highlight the whole of those words, all three of those words, dinosaurs are cool, and hit that second button there, which would center it, right? And let's say I want to center it, but I also want to bold it, right? I usually want my headings in bold. So I would hit the center button. How do I bold the same text? Just hit the B, right? Now, there are many other things in there, but believe it or not, I've sort of told you 90% probably of what you need to know for Word. If you understand that and you practice it, you pretty much got everything you want to do. Now, I'll tell you one more thing because it's very important. Do you see the letters on top? They're like little icons on top. You've got a blank. So there's even quicker ways to get to things. Well, let's forget about those for the moment. You see the file. So now I want to save this document. So if I hit file, it takes me back to where we started right at the beginning. You remember that list? And one of them will be save. It says, save this document. Now we'll write it out. But there are two kinds of save, and then I have to just tell you, and then we're done. Save and save as. They're kind of confusing, but once you've done it, it's easy. Save as is what you used the first time. It says, I want to save this document as this name. So the first time you save a document, Word doesn't know what you want to call it. You can call it anything you like. You can call it chapter 1 of my autobiography. Let's say you're writing your autobiography. You're writing a novel. Chapter 1 of my novel, right? So the first time you say save as, and then Word says, what do you want to call it? And you type chapter 1 of my novel, right? Or letter to my grandchildren. You can call it whatever you like. Thereafter, you don't have to type that name again. You just press, now you choose save. Save just means save it to the name that I've already told you. And so you can now save a document many, many times, right? You can do version 1, version 2, version 3, or extend it. You can finish working today, come back tomorrow, reopen the same document, continue and save it again, right? If you forget to save, Word is very, very forgiving. Word will mostly save it for you. And if you then get out of Word entirely and you haven't saved, it'll say to you, you didn't save it. Do you want to save? Which is great. In the old days, they didn't do that. And it was easy to get out of having typed a long document, forget to save it, and it was all gone, right? But Word is much cleverer today and will actually save it for you so that if something goes wrong, if the power fails or your machine dies on you, the document will have been saved and you can recover it. Any questions? That is an incredibly fast run through a very big piece of software. But if you go and practice those just few things I've told you, you've probably got about 90% of what you need to produce really, really cool, complex, and very sophisticated documents.
I have a question. Jeff.
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay, in my Windows 10,
Mm-hmm.
I have an icon called Office.
Right.
Is that the same one that you get with office.com?
That should be Office. That's right. If you click on it, it should show you all the pieces of Office, which are Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on.
And it does. So if I choose that, then it's not saved on my computer. It's in the cloud. If I use that
I'd have to
office.com.
see it. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
Right. It could be either one, right? It could be either one. The best way you know about it is when you click on it. If your ribbon looks exactly like what I've showed you here, then you have the
Mhm.
full version of Word. If it looks slightly different, not totally different, but it doesn't have quite as many features on it, then you've got the free version, right? The El Cheapo version. But the El
And
Cheapo
that's what I,
version,
that's
the El
and that's
Cheapo
what it
version is enough to get a job done for most of us, right?
and that's how that one is.
Say
Because
again?
that's how it is. Because I have Microsoft Word, which is what I paid for.
Yeah. Then you
And
don't
then
need
I
the free
have and
version.
then I have the icon that says Office, which came with Windows 10. But the one
Oh,
that I
that's
paid
interesting.
for have more features.
I would if you've got the full version of Office, then use that one.
Yeah, I do have it.
There's
Okay.
no point in having a car and a bicycle, if you know what I mean, right? You've
But
got the
but the
car, you got the full version. If you can't afford the car or you don't want to spend the money, the bicycle's perfectly good, right? It just doesn't have as many features as the fancy version, right? There's some of the
but
features
Jeff,
get taken out.
the version I have is 2007.
Oh, that's an old version, right?
Yes.
Because
Mm-hmm.
this version I've got here is called Office 2016, and they are about to come out with Office 2019. Go figure, it's already 2020, but they're coming out with 2019. But the good news is, if you type a document in Word 2006, it's perfectly okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
It,
Yeah.
you know, from 2012, a version came out, 2016. Not a heck of a lot of difference, right? Not a heck of a lot of difference.
Yeah.
So, however,
Okay.
the cloud version, the free version, will always be the latest version. That's the funny thing. So your 2006, if you wanted to upgrade it to 2016, you got to pay them some money. The
Right.
cloud version, they update. So if you get the cloud version today, you get the latest version. And if there's a new version that comes out tomorrow, it'll automatically be there when you go tomorrow. You don't have to do anything. But like I said, for most purposes, for most of us, the older version of Word is just perfectly okay. Right.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you, Jeff.
Did that help? Do you think it was
Yeah.
useful?
Yes, it
Now,
did.
like I
Thank you.
say, you can listen to me all day long is a waste of time. This is a bicycle. You have to get on it and ride, right?
Right. Right.
It's like learning to swim. You can read a book about learning to swim, but eventually you got to get in the water, right? Because you can read the book and it doesn't tell you until you do it. So what you need to do is take your Word and type some stuff. Get a magazine and just copy out a few paragraphs. Watch what happens, right? Just one more thing I'll tell you, and then we really are done. You see the word dinosauria on the screen at the end of the first line. You see that it's got a wiggly red line under it?
Right.
That wiggly red line is Word telling you, I don't know what this word is. It's not in my dictionary. Word keeps a dictionary, of thousands and thousands and thousands of English words. It says, I never seen this word. The reason it hasn't seen it is because it's Latin. It's a scientific word. So most times when you get the little wiggly line, it's because you typed it wrong, right? Let's say I typed, group, G-R-U-O-P. We often, when we're typing, we reverse letters. It would say G-R-U-O-P. I don't know what that is. Did you mean group? It'll show you. It's actually very clever. Often it figures out what your error was. Either you retype the word yourself or you correct it, or you can just choose, oh yeah, I did mean G-R-O-U-P. I just fat fingered it, right? Either left the letter out or reversed two letters or something like that. Or if you genuinely don't know how to spell the word, let's say I typed G-R-O-O-P because I thought that's how you spell group. Word will come back and say, I don't know what G-R-O-O-P is, but perhaps you meant G-R-O-U-P. And about 95 times out of 100, it gets it right? Sometimes you screwed it up so badly, it has no idea. If I left out the G and I typed R-O-O-P, it's not going to know that meant to be group, right? It's going to try something else. So if you get a little squiggly line like that, remember that's not going to print. That's only on the screen. That squiggly line, if you print it out, there will be no little red squiggly line on the printout. But on the screen, it's saying to you, this word is not in my dictionary, right? It doesn't have scientific words and so forth. It has some scientific words. Notice it didn't put a squiggly line under the word Triassic. So even though that's a fancy schmancy scientific word, it happened to have it in the dictionary, right? And so mostly you will have that squiggly line only, for most purposes, only if you've mistyped something. You've either misspelt the word or you've mistyped it. Sometimes it'll give you the squiggly line if your grammar is wrong. You know, if you say a horse are nice, the under R, the ARE, the word R would be a squiggly line because it should be is. A horse is nice, right? Not a horse are nice. You see that? And so either grammatically it will be wrong, it'll show you an error, or spelling, but you don't have to correct it. If you, like there, Dinosauria, I left it like that because it's not an error. It's a science, Latin word from science. It's the correct scientific name for dinosaur. Okay, have a good, go out and try it. You should do it today, right?
Yes.
Just go play with the thing. You can do yourself any harm.
Yeah, I will try.
Yeah, go and type some stuff. And like I say, the way I do it is I get a magazine or a newspaper and just type some stuff, or write a letter to your children or something, right? Doesn't matter. And you'll find after you've done it 15 minutes, you'll see how clever this piece of software really is. It's doing everything for you behind the scenes, and you don't have to do anything, right? It's aligning the text, and it's making sure that, you know, when you get to the end of the line, you go into the next line. If you want to have a new paragraph, you just that's when you hit enter, right? So you just type it. Like, you know, it'll be like that, looks there. You hit enter, it'll put in a blank line, and you start a new paragraph, all done automatically for you. It's just incredibly clever. But what we've discussed today, and I agree, unfortunately, I had to do it very quickly. It should have been done over several sessions, but that's about 90 to 95% of what you're ever going to need in Word, because most of what you need is on that first screen.
Jeff, if you scan a document into your computer, can it be edited?
Well, usually no, because when you scan it in, it creates it in a format called PDF, personal data format. In fact, when I send you the notes, it will be in PDF format. But what you can do with the PDF is you can highlight the text in the PDF. So let's say this was a PDF document. If I highlighted all that text, right, I could then copy the text. And you have to come to my Windows course to copy, but just to tell you how to do it, it's Control C. So if you highlight the hollow text and say Control C, it goes into the clipboard, and then you can copy it into a Word document.
Oh, okay.
Why they make us do a two-step process, I don't know. But technically, you can't edit a PDF document. But if you scanned it, if you could scan it, some scanners will allow it, not all scanners, to scan it in a Word format, then it would be a Word document. But it's not that hard to turn a PDF into a Word.
It seems like when I do my scanning, it comes up in Adobe.
Yeah, well, Adobe is PDF.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, PDF is a format, the way the file, the way that information is stored, which was created by a company called Adobe. So Adobe is a company, and they created this PDF format. And the beauty of PDF format actually is that nobody can change it. So, if I send you a contract that we're going to sign, I'm buying your car, I'm buying your house. Well, you don't want me to change it. Let's say, you offered me 10,000 for my car and I changed it to 20,000. Well, short of checking every single word, you don't want me to do that, right? So we create a PDF, and when we print it out, I know you've got a PDF, I've got a PDF. They're exactly the same because we can't change it. So that's the reason for the PDF. But like I say, you can highlight text in the PDF, copy it to the clipboard, and then put it into a Word document, paste it into a Word document.
Okay,
which is a kind of a roundabout way, but it works perfectly well.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Great. Remember to send me, if you want these slides, just send me an email Did you write down my email address? Everybody write it down?
Yes.
Write it down. Send me just a one line, say it's for the word, must say the word course because I also have other courses. And I will, by return of mail, send you these exact slides. And of course, there's a lot more slides. You can see this is slide 17, but there's over 60 slides. And you can work through the rest of it yourself.
Yeah, and I sent you an email last week and you sent me the slides already.
Better, you send you for, was that for
Word.
For Windows or for Word?
No, that was for Word. And you
For Word,
sent
right.
me.
Yeah, I remember sending it to you. Right, so you
Right.
don't need to do that, right.
All right, thank you.
Have a great weekend.
You
All
too.
right,
Stay
thank you.
healthy. Everybody stay healthy. That's the important thing. And if you're playing with Word and you have a question, just send me an email and I'll be happy to answer it for you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.